So 196 for 4, 37th over in progress as Mohammad Shami will continue into his over. Bringing you all the live action right from the Dubai International Cricket Stadium. So Mohammad Shami comes in, bangs this one in short, it's pulled away. Finds the gap, a bit of a chase for Hardik Pandya. I played cricket for 14 years for the country, and while I was playing the game, of course, in the life of an athlete, there are a lot of situations where there are ups and downs, and you come to a standstill. There are a lot of roadblocks that come in. You open one door, you find a dead end, you try and open another door. Technically, we are told to finish the shot.
Okay.
That's your complete frame of finishing your shot. So if you're playing a cover drive as well,
okay,
it's a swing and it'll go all the way through.
Which part of the game people, or I would say the fans, admire the most, but they rarely understand it?
I'm associated with a game that was recognized as a gentleman's game alone. When I started to play, there were not a lot of girls who used to play cricket. Right. It was not recognized as a game for women from the first place.
Absolutely right.
Most sport is not recognized as a sport that women would perform or would play or would take up in whatever form, right? Sport or playing outdoors is always something that was meant, or traditionally that we know of, was meant for men, not necessarily for women. That itself is a first challenge.
Hi everyone, we are here again with an exciting and an amazing personality today with us. You all must have heard her voice while watching the cricket, or maybe somewhere in the UAE, lot of reels, lot of places, and I'm sure you can recognize her well. But before that, thank you so much for all the support and the understanding which you are giving to us. If you want anyone who is bringing a different story and an experience which can actually motivate so many females out there, please DM to me with their stories, and we would love to have them on our show. So we are here again, HerTalks, podcast by Women First Jobs. So let's all welcome Charvi Bhatt.
Thank you very much. And you asked me to do a little something, so I will do that for you. So it's a delivery, tossed up in the air, stepping down the track is the batter. Up in the air she goes and will be taken at long off. That's another wicket down.
Wonderful. I mean, like, it gave me a goosebump actually. I mean, like, it's a goosebump moment for me as well. But
I'm not to visualize it.
But no, it was like as if I experienced that moment for a few seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So you have had such a dynamic journey from being a former UAE women's national team captain to becoming a sought-after commentator and now leading sports partnership as well in the higher education. How would you describe this journey in your own words? And maybe before that, we would like to know who Charvi was.
Well, I think, that's a good question, and I've not been asked that before. I think Charvi Bhatt is nothing if not for sport. So if it wasn't for sport, if it wasn't for cricket, then I think Charvi Bhatt wouldn't have been Charvi Bhatt. So my gratitude and my thanks, every single day, to the fact that I got associated with the game, and thanks to the game overall. Nothing is bigger than the game. You would often hear athletes say this, that the game is bigger. You as an individual can never be bigger than that. And I've been blessed, and that the game has given me so much that sometimes I feel no matter how much I will do in my lifetime, it's always going to fall short. There's always going to be something that will get missed in my way of returning it back to the game or giving it back to the game, that we say. If I would say, in short, what the journey's really been, it's been a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice.
I'm sure.
It's been a lot of hard choices to make at tough times in life. And I think I still continue to make them. I still feel that my journey is just getting started, and I still have a very long way to go.
Okay. But when you look back, what was the defining moment which actually gave you that moment of thought that game is everything for you and now you're going to take it forward?
So I played cricket for 14 years for the country, and while I was playing the game, of course, in the life of an athlete, there are a lot of situations where there are ups and downs, and you come to a standstill. There are a lot of roadblocks that come in. You open one door, you find a dead end. You try and open another door. That happened a lot. For me, while I was playing, I was still pursuing my education because that was important. And I say this to every young girl or young child who comes in, a parent who comes and says, I want my child to pursue sport. And I said, yes, continue to do that. But please remember, put your books first. If you've got knowledge and if you've got that backing with you, please remember the world of sport is extremely competitive. But if you've got knowledge as your trump card, you will be able to start at any time, from anywhere, and be able to build something for yourself. So that I knew that was going to be important for me. So while I was studying, I finished my education. Cricket was, yes and no, may or may not continue. I knew for a fact that, every athlete has got a shelf life. I've got to think something beyond. I've got my, entire life ahead of me. I walked away a lot of times thinking, that's it. Let's go and find another route. We'll, look for a job. I have had experience working with different sectors in the market. Worked for a lot of different companies from different industries. And then every single time, I'd hit a roadblock with them. Tough markets that we are surviving in. We still survive in an extremely tough market. So one way or the other, life bought me and made me stand in front of a door that said sport. And it was just for me to open it and see how I can capitalize it. So it happened more than one time. That's when I realized, when it happened the fourth or the fifth time, I said, you know what? When the commentary door opened as well, I said, there could be something here. And I think I need to now think about how I can build that and how I can take that further. Thankfully, I think globally we advanced towards education in sport. And that awareness, when that got up, I think I was in the right place at the right time.
Okay, and I'm glad you mentioned about it, that which is very important for the parents to understand as well as the students, that they should keep their formal education first on a priority, because we don't know where that passion will take them in the future.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But still, I want to understand, I'm sure you would be the right person to give a great advice on that. If a student want to pursue his or her career in cricket, in this reason, how they can start?
There are multiple different ways in which you can do it. What I want to put a foundational understanding to everybody who's going to hear this before is, please remember, sometimes we associate the career in sport limited to just playing. Whether it's cricket, football, golf, tennis, rugby, or any of the other sports that we are all aware of, and even those who are not, we're not aware of, right? Our understanding as humans, because that's what we know of as we were growing and all the information that we've been exposed to, that it's only associated with playing. That story has changed a little bit. There is a lot more that you can do with the sport that you're associated with, which is not limited to playing. You can manage it, you can develop it, you can analyze it, you can market it, you can brand it. There is a lot that you can do. So if you're looking to start, and if you really say you're a cricketer, you're already playing, you're part of a club, you've got your stats backing you behind it, amazing, continue to play. But at the same time, what would be fair, and I'm not being an advocate of education of sport in particular, but if that's really the way that you want to go, then my fair advice would be pursue a career in sport. Find a degree program in the region. There are options now where you can study sports science, you can study sports business, sport management, and I'll tell you something, the opportunities while you study that, those opportunities are limitless. Even as a player, if you're studying sport, you will look at your own game very, very differently because your knowledge is building aligned with that.
This is a new thing which I've heard today, actually. I mean, like, most of the time, most of the player or the people, those who are associated with the sports, for them, maybe because it is more glamorized, that could be one of the reason. Or money, it's you'll find more monetary benefit when you'll pay. This is the mind which is there in the minds of the people. So I think this is a reason why people see just they will play like the cricketers on a ground, or maybe the footballers on the pitch. So this is the idea which is there in their mind. But I'm really glad that you mentioned this thing, and there are other options as well, which I'm sure people were not earlier aware about it. But it's good you mentioned that. But Charbi, I want to understand from you, like, what are some invisible challenges which women leaders generally face during their sports tenure, especially in this reason?
Let's understand one thing. I'm associated with a game that was recognized as a gentleman's game alone. When I started to play, there were not a lot of girls who used to play cricket.
Right.
Right? It was not recognized as a game for women from the first place.
Absolutely right.
Most sport is not recognized as a sport that women would perform or would play or would take up in whatever form. Right? Sport or playing outdoors is always something that was meant, or traditionally that we know of, was meant for men, not necessarily for women. That itself is a first challenge, because now you're looking for recognition. The fact that you tried to do something that was unconventional, that was out of the box, that was untraditional and uncalled for from what is normally accepted by society. So you've picked something already, which means your struggle is going to be even harder.
Right.
For recognition, I think recognition, you can put it on top of the list. That's one of the most visible and invisible challenge at the same time. Right? A lot of people on your face would say, oh, great, you're doing this. It's amazing. They'll give you a pat on the back. But you never know what they would turn around and say. That's not for you. Why are you doing it? There is no reason for you to do something like that. Unfortunately, because we live in a world which is dominated by men, there are male chauvinists who are constantly trying to show you your place. And I don't shy away from saying a lot of these things. A lot of people come back and say, Charvi, you know what? I think you were too honest and too brutal. And I said, you know what? Someone has to stand up, raise their hand and be honest and be brutal, because otherwise, I'm sorry, but we'll be crushed under the pressure. And the pressure is truly very hard. It really is hard for recognition. You open doors into rooms sometimes where you'd walk in and you'd think, I'm the most qualified individual in this room. I have the most experience in this room. But what's something that will really bring me down is the fact that I'm a woman. And because no one's going to listen to me. And for that reason alone, you have to be vocal. You've got to be honest. I think this region has done really well in terms of progression of being very inclusive, having on the table the same number of women as they have as the men. But I think we're far from reaching the peak. I think we're still yet to get started on where we give equal rights to women. And I'll tell you, it's got nothing to do from a business or a management sense. In the corporate world, it's fine. I think that switch to make for inclusivity or to have equality is very easy. It's very simple. Traditionally, in households, we're far from getting started. That is where the change needs to happen, at the foundational level, at the grassroots. What is the culture that a child is being brought up in? Is it been brought up in an inclusive culture where both the boys and the girls, the young boys and the young girls, are being treated equally, given equal opportunities? I think they get treated equally. They don't get equal opportunities, unfortunately. And that is very visible. And I'm telling you, I see that in my day-to-day life, around me, across me. And then sometimes, you look there and you think, should you really be the advocate or not? Is there something that you can say or not? How do you fight this challenge? How do you give those women equal opportunities to allow them to do something about their life? As individuals, as humans, and you'd agree to this, don't we have the equal rights to make a future of our own? We should, right? It's very, very important.
Yeah.
A long time ago, a relative of mine had met her family, her husband's side family, and it was very interesting that he mentioned and he said a lot of people don't realize it, but financial independence for a woman is very important in today's world. Because if she's not financially independent, the smallest decisions for her to take will be so hard for her to take. Financial independence is very important. I'm not saying that they should be they can be the breadwinners. A lot of women today are. We just don't know about them. A lot of women are running it. But it's just about giving them that recognition that you can be financially independent also. That independence is very important.
That awareness is very much important.
Yeah.
As you have already raised this topic, let me ask you, did you face biases?
I still face biases.
Okay.
I still face biases. And I won't lie about it. In a lot of different ways, the bias is still there. The male counterpart is given more preference, is given that front seat versus a female in a lot of different ways. They are the first pick. And they always say, oh yes, we've got to be inclusive, but we need, male members. And I just feel, even if it is female dominated, I don't think there is anything wrong, because I feel we bring more to the table versus they do. We bring more substance to the table, more knowledge, more experience to the table versus they do. And not that I'm demeaning them in any way. They work hard, we work hard. I think the only fight here is about, if we're working hard, let us have our space. And don't eat away our space just because you feel threatened. And the fact that, you feel threatened, it simply, answers all the questions there.
Okay. I'm sure you must have faced several situations where during a game, you wanted to speak, you wanted to comment, but somebody else took that space. Did it ever happen with you?
It does. And so as commentators, what happens is we have a roster that comes out, right? So it's scheduling. Who will do the pre-match? Who will be there from the first over to the fifth? Who will be there after 5? And also depending on the number of commentators on the panel, the rotation happens that way. Unfortunately, being the sole female or the only female on that commentary panel, what it really does is that it does not allow you that many spots as the men, unfortunately. There are women's games that get broadcasted. They even get broadcasted here. And you know what's the most disheartening thing to see? That on the commentary panel, you don't even have a single female. When you already have female commentators. You don't even have a single female on the panel.
So let's talk more about the situation in a game. So as a commentator, have you ever had a moment when where you had to stay professional, but at the same time, the sports fan inside you wanted to celebrate that moment?
Oh, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. See, being a sport fan, you obviously have a favorite team, you've got a favorite player, and especially when you're watching it live and you want to be part of that win. Because as an athlete or even as a fan, what's the biggest win for a fan? To feel associated and having that feeling of belonging to the player or to the team or a group of people who are also celebrating. You want to feel, that sense of belonging needs to be there. So usually this is me. I have a screen in front of me, and we're commentating, looking at that. So I've got my mic in my hand, and my voice is very calm and very subtle. But at the other end, I'm cheering, and I'm like high-fiving people around, and we're like, yes, and, we're having those expressions. It's good that as commentators we're not in front of the camera the whole time. It's only our voices that are being heard. So I think we get away with that many a times. But the sport fan in you, I think with training and over the years, and that I have commentated, it's become normal. When you're not commentating, you have the mic off, you celebrate, you cheer, you clap, you enjoy. But when the mic comes in front of you, then it's like a switch. You switch over instantly.
And I'm sure these training will actually make you understand, like when you have to calm down, when you have to. So how much time does it take for this training? Is this a fixed tenure for the training or something? Or it's just while you're on the field, you learn and grow?
You mean this is for commentary?
Yes.
Actually, commentary, there's no training. There's absolutely no training for commentary. Got an opportunity to do it. I think it's all got to do with voice throw on the mic. Would you sound confident or not? Do you have the voice for the mic or not? I've been told that by a lot of experts, and I've heard a lot of podcasts and seen a lot of videos, and it's all got to do with you have the voice for the mic or not. And I think that's the basic judge that they put you through. I was never given any sort of training. I was put on immediately. So I picked up by observing what my commentator counterpart was doing. And all I had to do is look at the screen and describe what was happening. And because I think I've played the game and I know what the game is, I think that part became a lot more smoother. I wouldn't say easier, but smoother. Somebody just said, what's happening on the screen? Can you describe that? And I'd say, yeah, that's simple. I can visualize that for you. The bowler's running in. He's now bowled past the umpire. He's bowled a good length delivery. The batter's come in shape, has played that on the offside. So what I'm doing is I'm creating that visual for you. That's easy to do. That description was very easy because all I had to do was I just had to describe step by step what was happening, on the screen. And I never knew I had the voice for the mic. Eventually, observing how people used to speak, when did they increase the tempo, when did they bring the tempo down, I think I picked it up with observation over a period of time. And every game, it gets better. You realize, you reflect, and be like, I used a certain word too many times, let's not use it. So earlier, I used to sit with a vocabulary in front of me. I would research certain words said by certain commentators. I'd Google certain, commonly used words or uniquely used words. I'd make a note of it, and I'd have that as a paper in front of me. Thinking, all right, I have to use some of these words while I commentate. Depending on the situation, I'll kind of push them and throw them in. And that happens on a post-match reflection that I would do after every game.
And I think a good commentator can actually add a more life to a match, or I would say add more spices to the game, yeah? And they can actually bring the monotonous situation as well. It all depends on them.
Yeah, it's all depending on who the person is. They bring the energy with them. And we're all different people, aren't we? We're different human beings. We come with different set of energies. So it all depends on, who the individual is and what is it that, the kind of, the Gen Z word is vibe. Are they a vibe check or not?
Okay. So what does being an in-demand commentator really require beyond game knowledge?
I think it's supposed to be full package. Voice, command on the language, awareness, how your analysis skills, right? Your analytical skills matter. Are you able to analyze the game as quickly as not? Your anticipation skills also are tested a lot of times because while you're analyzing the game, you have to also anticipate what may happen and be already prepared in your mind that this might happen and I need to be prepared to speak about it or comment about it. So that is something that gets put to test every single time. So a good commentator would be a very good analyst, would have great command on their language, have a very good vocabulary, be very knowledgeable, would have all the stats in place. So would remember stories, would remember instances, would remember moments from games that would have happened like years before. And if you see a similar situation, remind people who are listening to you about that situation. Bring out those kind of stories that would relate to the current match scenario, right? And all in all, have the voice for the mic.
And a focus.
And a focus as well. So, you're able to be switched on, and you're also able to switch off for a split second and switch on back again.
Has there ever been a moment during commentary where you saw the game with an entirely different lens?
Every single time. Because this is the advantage I think I personally have, and I don't give myself, I think, enough credit for it, is the fact that, yes, I've been a cricketer, which means I've spent a lot of time on the field. I've been a coach briefly, so I have been outside the brown boundary ropes during match times, and I've had teams inside who've been coaching. So, constantly going around and thinking on how can we change the game? Or what is it that we can do that we can put it in our favor? Or we can get closer to the result that we want that needs to be in our favor. I've also worked for a lot of sporting events and some major sporting events at the backstage. So operationally, broadcast, hospitality. So knowing the logistics, the supply chain, the operations that go around at the back end. What we see as spectators is a great show with lights on. But what actually happens behind the scenes, I've seen that. A single broadcast in a game today has got over 60 cameras on field. Over 60 cameras on field for a single broadcast. Not that there are less number of cameras that a broadcast happens. It happens depending on the scale of the game. But any normal World Cup match or any other league match that we watch has got over 60 cameras. What we see is a beautiful output. That 60 cameras, what is being captured, is being edited in real time. And that's the broadcast we see. Wow. That's been cut, that's been edited, what needs to go, where it needs to go. So the behind the scenes is something that I have seen as well. So as a commentator, when we are looking at a certain game, there are 100 different things that we are aware of. And we filter through those to only give what's the most valuable, what will keep the audience engaged, and will keep them hooked on to what we're talking about.
Okay. So Charvi, I want to understand which part of the game people, or I would say the fans, admire the most, but they rarely understand it.
To be honest, the game is, because it's very batting dominated, and it's a game where the batters control most of its running. A lot of them are like, this particular team is playing, they'll be batting, by then I will reach and I will watch. I want to watch their batting. It's because of that. But if you ask me honestly, if the team that I'm supporting is fielding first or bowling first, I'd love to watch that. Because that, I feel, is the most exciting part. You know why? There is a difference in sport as well. When you're watching football, yes, you're going as a fan, when you go into the stadium to watch the game live, you go there to watch your favorite footballer, yes. But there are too many people on the field for you to be single-handedly be able to watch one of your player. You also go there to watch the game, the actual game. In cricket, it's a little different. If you're actually watching the game from a technical standpoint, actually want to watch a good game of cricket, you'd rather watch it on a TV screen because of the way it's played.
Right.
Right? When you go into the ground and say if you're sitting or somewhere on the side, you're barely going to be able to understand where the ball's moving, what's the length. The length you might be able to tell. You will not be able to see part of the bat also, how the ball was struck, unless you're sitting at either straighter ends. But if you're sitting on the sides, You may not be able to tell. Cricket fans, the reason why, and a lot of people don't know this, but there was a report that came out a long time ago based on which the branding around cricket has been built. A lot of people, they go into the stadium, most of them, to watch a cricket match because they want to watch their heroes in person. They want to have that opportunity to sight their heroes
Experience, right.
and their players who they look up to in person. And they want to have that opportunity. See, oh, I saw that player in person. That feeling they want. And that's why a lot of them, they go into the stadium for especially cricketers, to watch them live. That's the fascination around it.
Okay, but do commentators ever secretly have favorite kind of players
All the
to
time.
watch?
All the time. All the time. They have their favorites. They enjoy watching them play. And when they come, you would feel they've got a different energy in their voice. Their voice changes completely. And you will see, you will be able to tell from the way they speak, they've got a lot of fondness for that particular player. And it not necessarily has to be from a particular team, but just a player who really plays well and they're very fond of them. You'd be able to tell.
Okay, but Charvi, what do you think? Like, what still needs to be changed for more women to lead in sports, business, coaching, or science and governance?
I think there are not a lot of women who are given enough opportunities to educate themselves. Not that they don't want to educate themselves in sport. It's just that the opportunities, unfortunately, given to them are minimal.
Or maybe they're not aware?
No, they're minimal. The
Okay.
awareness is there, and they're minimal. And why I say this, just a few weeks ago rather, I happened to meet a co-commentator, female, for a tournament that I was covering. And she does a lot of coaching, in the country that she comes from. She said that even though I've got more knowledge and experience in coaching, just because it's male dominated, somebody who does not have the knowledge and experience is given more opportunity than I am. So she says, I have to be very, very headstrong and I have to really fight for my right. Sometimes that simply means that I have to tell the opposite person off and clearly prove it that they don't know more than I do. So that is there, and it is the opportunity, unfortunately, that is not given. Comes back to the point that I made earlier, that they probably feel threatened.
Okay. What message would you give to young girls who dream to build their career in sports beyond just playing?
I'd say go for it. Again, if you have an opportunity to pursue your education in the same field, please go ahead and do it. Don't wait on and say, oh, you know what, I'm still playing, I'll wait another year, and then I'll go and pursue it. No. If there is a door, even a little bit, that has opened, push through it. Go and pursue it. Continue to play if that opportunity is there. Don't stop yourself from not playing. You should do that. It's good for you. It's good for your longevity in life, as from a health perspective as well. You never know. Sport generally for a human does a lot. It teaches you a lot. It teaches you things that your books don't teach you. Certain life skills, values, ethics that you hold makes you a human being with a lot of character. Sport does that to you. It brings that out of you. So for that, don't stop. Educate yourself. Keep yourself aware. And most importantly, something that I feel female athletes a lot of time lack are certain skills, not because they don't know about them, but they are not given, but they don't pursue them or are not serious about them. So keep yourself well, give yourself that opportunity to feel good, to look good. Do that. Work on your communication skills, because that's very, very important. Be very clear about the vision you have for yourself, the road that you're headed with. That is very important. The clarity in mind is so important in today's world, because a lot of youngsters, especially young girls, they get drifted apart. Because as a girl, when you're growing up, your limitations are very clearly defined for you. Remember, you're a girl, this is your limitation, you can't go beyond that. You remember you're a girl, at the end of the day, this is what's going to happen with you. Remember, you're a girl, at the end of the day, you can't go that path, you can only go this path, right? Don't define yourselves by that limitations. It's a hard road. You would agree, we're still on that hard road. We're still fighting those battles every single day. But keep at it. Because it's not that, it's an extremely dark tunnel. But there is a light at the end of it. And you will reach there eventually.
Yeah. And then just go for it.
And then just go for it.
Go for it. Okay, so if your journey could inspire one big change in the world of sport, what would you want that change to be?
That's a tough one. What that change should be. I think we can make certain areas in sport forcefully, if that would be the right word, or consciously, a lot more female dominated.
Right.
So push them through the system. Certain areas, just say this is a particular department that we're identifying. This should be only for women. For example, if there is a women's game going on, no matter what the sport is, if you're having people in broadcast, if there are commentators, make sure it's an all-female commentary team. Do not depend on men there. We don't need inclusivity. Push it through. We're breaking a stereotype. It's a glass ceiling, right? How about we break it? And we'll see where that goes. Have it that way. Because there are a lot of sports now that have an all-female umpiring and a refereeing team. You won't see a male referee or a male umpire on field, which is amazing. How about we change that around and we do that for roles that are also in front of the camera and behind the mic?
Okay. I want to add something here. How about creating the equal opportunities for the female in all sort of things in sports? Be it women's sports or male sports, or maybe the back end support, or maybe the commentary part, or maybe the sports, or anything like, why not the equal allies, or maybe something like that?
Because those policies are already in place.
Okay, they are, but like, why not to have more opportunities? I mean, like more places. Don't you think, like, if we'll put all the females for female games, then men will demand that I do not want to see any female in men's cricket or maybe the football or something like that?
See, I think that has happened before. And I'm not saying that this should become like a common practice. I'm saying it's about trying it out, about being able to give that many opportunities. Correct. From an inclusivity aspect or equality aspect, yes, that policy is already in place. That, if they say that, for example, the support staff for any team in terms of physios, coaches, trainers, analysts, and all others who make up a support staff of maybe 7 or 8 members, they always say that you should have one female in that, even if it's for a male team. So that little bit of a policy has come through where, that inclusivity and that opportunities are opening up. But you're only opening that door in one team for one female. You've got 20 others. How are you going to include them? Equally talented, equally qualified. That's where there's a little bit of a gap. That's where the struggle a little bit is. A lot of, what happens to those women, those other 20 who are standing in line? They'll try. Eventually they'll give up. It will just be like, oh, now, we can't really do much. We can't, we're not going to be able to, how do you say it? We're not going to be able to now give you an opportunity. Somebody else has already taken that seat, etc. And I'm not, and please don't misunderstand me, whoever is listening. I don't mean to say this is happening everywhere. oh, this is common practice. No. There are a lot of places who've done major progress in terms of equality and inclusivity. And I think those countries have done so well. But there are still some countries who are still unable to give those opportunities to women. And we're talking about and trying to increase awareness about those countries where you really need to open your eyes, turn your heads around and say, no, we've got an equally qualified, experienced, counterpart. How about we give an opportunity and see how that goes?
So according to you, we can start from the places where the lack of equal opportunities are there, where females can actually come forward and work equally, maybe the back end support, or maybe even the players, or maybe the commentary box, or anything. If it is one male, one female, or maybe the way you mentioned, we can start from those places. And the 20, those who are standing in line, they can brush up their skills.
Yes.
They can wait, they can brush up their skills,
Yeah.
and they can also wait for the opportunities, because now the doors have opened now.
Yeah.
Other females, they have opened the doors for them. So
Yes,
they are
absolutely.
aware that now they can get into the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't deny any of that. A lot of the female commentators today who are commentating at the big scale, if they wouldn't have done what they did, many years ago, I think commentators like me, we wouldn't have had the opportunity today to also have that awareness. Oh, there could be a female voice that can come through regionally or locally, is what I'm saying. So, and I think cricket has made a lot of progress, and kudos to those at the highest level that have been able to put this through. If there are 5 male commentators on a commentary panel, or for a certain tournament that are finalized, they also have 5 female commentators. And they're matched up accordingly in that balance, where even in front of the camera, say you've got the host in front of the camera frame, you've got the host, and you've got 3 commentators or experts who are there, you will always see a balance of 2 females and 2 males in a frame. So I think I can speak for my sport. I think they've done very well in bringing that sort of a balance. Some of the other sports, I'm sure, smaller sports, smaller
Right.
budgets, still lacking that sense of awareness, still lacking, the talent pool perhaps. They are still at that beginning, at a very start level, or not there yet. So there's a lot that still needs to be done in terms of inclusivity and equality at that stage. But like I said, globally or overall, when we look at it, we have some wins, but we still have a lot of losses and a lot to make up for.
And when we talk about the females opening the doors for other females, I would say we need the equal allies as well, where the
Yes.
male also understand that the
Yeah.
importance of a female is equally important
Yeah.
at the same place. I
Yeah.
guess the real change will come then only when both the genders will understand the importance of each other.
Yeah, true. And I think, you make a very good point of the male also understanding how important having a female in the ecosystem is so important. And that comes from foundational level, again. Culturally, traditionally, how you've been brought up, what is the environment, where you are being raised. That is also very important. Are those opportunities given, not given? Do you still fight for your right? Do you still fight for the fact that you need to be heard or not heard? And sometimes, I see a lot of females who raise their decibel levels to be heard. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them, because if they don't raise their decibel levels, unfortunately, they're not heard. And we see that in so many different settings, environments. And it breaks your heart a little bit, to see women suppressed because they're unable to raise their voice. They're unable to prove themselves and do something about their own life, or direct their own life in a certain way.
Thank you, Charvi, so much. I mean, it's incredible to have a conversation like this on this platform, where we really discussed about the importance of equality, inclusivity, which is important in this very important sector, which is sports.
Yeah.
And we need to see a lot of more female commentator And I'm sure you have opened the doors, and we are sure we are going to see many more in the future as well. But thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts here. It is a pleasure to have you here with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to probably influence, if not change, the lives of so many who might be struggling. We live in a very, very tough world. We really do. And, often a lot of people shy away from, and I understand it's not, you can't put the pressure on somebody to come out there and speak for what they're going through or what are their struggles. But to be able to associate with somebody who might have gone through something similar and how they came out of it, or what are certain things that they are doing in the pursuit of, achieving their dreams or achieving their goals. I think if I've been able to make that 1% influence, as change is still a very strong word, if I've been able to influence you, then, I wish you all the best, and I hope that you're able to come out there as a shining star. So thank you for allowing me and maybe helping somebody come through.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.